Hello everybody. Quick note before you start the video. I have to point out that some of the information might be a little outdated. Though, at the same time, not that outdated.
What?
Stop!
It's outdated.
Shh, this has to be fast before
Okay.
you listen to my wife. It's not that outdated. But basically, the Liberator will not be able to directly refill spaceships, but you will be able to do the hand refueling on the pads, which is just an extra step. So logistically, though more complicated. Don't make this about periods. It's the beginning of the video, and we're already talking about what. The point being, you can still refuel, but you need to take up some cargo space with the fuel, and then you have to physically take the fuel to the ship because they want to be annoying, I guess. And they're like, no, guys, really, it's not a carrier, it's a transport. Acts like a carrier, but apparently it's a transport. Anyway, that is all. We'll talk more about it later. Good times.
What?
Now to the start of the video. Welcome to the Grizzled Kingdom, coming at you right for the stars, all the way into a space opera Star Citizen video. I am your host once again, the Grizzled of all Grizzlies, RPG Grizzly. My wife, Mrs. Grizzly, is here to mock us. Mock us, Grizzly. All we get is a condescending laugh. You kids and you boys and your space games. Don't you know space doesn't even exist? I know. Anyway, so.
Yet you can still dream.
I can dream about Cthulhu. So. No octopussy men. No Cthulhu. Elder god pussies. He is kind of an octopussy man. Giant octopussy man, the size of planets. Oh, sorry. Back to no more Lovecraftian lore. This is about Star Citizen. Now, let's face it. I'm sure they'll put something Lovecraftian in eventually.
Get on with it.
No. I do what I want. Now I'll get on with it. Anyway, so.
Whoa. And you wonder how I got pregnant so soon.
I'm smiling right now. You guys can't see me. Anyway. I mean, how can you marry a Ukrainian and not get her pregnant every year? Anyhow, so I wanted to talk about something else that I was going to make a weird pregnancy reference because it's a carrier ship and things fly out of it. But, yes, my wife is kind of like a Liberator. She had 3 little starships and they all came out of her. One by one. You guys don't know this, but my son just spat out his binky and is trying to wake up. Hang on! Entertain yourselves! No, take the binky. Take it. Thank you.
Take this job and shove it.
I don't work here anymore. Yes. So, that's what I'm going to play in my Liberator when I take it off the first time.
Excuse me?
Take this job and shove it. Oh, my wife just made that one sexual too. Terrifying. Anyway, so I wanted to do a deeper dive into the Liberator. We already talked about it a couple of days ago.
Their whole mom and all, but whoa.
I just thought it was interesting that it's a ship meant to hold 3 other ships and you had 3 children. So, pew pew pew. Except spaceships. So, last time I was kind of, what's the term?
Loopy?
Yes, but I think I was also doing not the fan fiction, that's not right. Fanboying. I was fanboying a little bit. Because, yes, I even kind of like the look of this ship. I know everyone's like, it's an ugly brick, but I'm like, it's my ugly brick. No. I just kind of like the slick utilitarian look and the big boy engines. I'm kind of dig. I think it needs an awning tower, though, since it is a carrier. Taller tower. It might make it look a little weirder, but seriously.
An awning tower so I can tan.
Yeah. In space.
Just don't get too close to the sun.
Son, did you really just spin out your binky again? Well, don't cry about it. We're going to plow on. So, sexual innuendo is aside. When we talk about the Liberator, I think it's fun to just, how do I put this? Given the information we have, I want to do almost like, I guess they call it a deep dive, but I want to also talk about reasons why you might want to get this. Wait, you have to make everything sexual.
I am, great.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, God, am I gonna have to like paint the words "the love boat" or the kinky craft on the side of my Liberator when I eventually get it?
Kinky crap.
The kinky craft, yes. Anyway, you guys would understand.
So you.
Yeah, you guys would be flustered too if you saw what my wife just did. Anyway, so
Help it, David.
the Liberator is a big boy. It's about the length of a Hercules. Did you really just make that a penis joke? My wife just made that a penis joke. Okay, the next thing I'm going to say isn't going to make it much better, but the Hercules is pointier and more aerodynamic, while the Liberator is much more of a bigger block. Wife is literally sucking on a popsicle right now as we talk. This is so distracting.
I started to eat the popsicle before you started talking.
Before the
okay?
penis talk. Anyway, it's essentially a sub-capital size ship. I think they're counting it as a capital, quote unquote, but it's something more along the lines of a Perseus or a Polaris, or even I would put a Carrack in. Pinky up. I'd put Carracks in this. The Percy Men's big gunboat. I kind of want one of those too, though. So you can't call it too Percy. Or am I being Percy because I want to blow everyone's brains out before they even can do anything? Yeah. So you get the point. It's a big boy. It's a big boy, but not the biggest boy. Because the carriers, that would be the Bengal and the Kraken. And I guess the Idris, to be fair. And also, to be fair, the Idris technically is a 3-fighter ship. Though, now that I think about it, players are going to stuff a lot more than 3 ships inside that thing. Yes, they're stuffing it in a long tube, okay? Right down the hole. As many ships as possible. Wow, the last video we did was not as sexual. My goodness. So, and that was about the 400i, the 6 sexy ships. For some reason, the blocky Liberator is the sexy ship. Didn't see that coming. My wife's doing it again. I don't think she even tried to do it on purpose that time. Anyway, so talking about this, I also am going to count things like the Reclaimer. Yes, the Reclaimer. Really? Oh, I get it. Reclaim her? I don't even know her.
There you go.
Hilarious. Retaliator. Okay, obviously that one's a bomber and it's smaller. I wanted to use the name so we can say Retaliate. I don't even know. Okay, I'm gonna shut up. So, but also, though I think the Orion is really big. I gotta check. It's not in game yet, but it's supposed to be really big. And that's but I'm comparing them because that's like the mining cap ship. The Reclaimer is like the salvage cap ship, and then of course
Mine.
Yes, the
Reclaimer.
You butt. And of course, there's plenty of cargo cap ship, or cap-sized cargo ship. Well, I guess not plenty, but there are big cap ships out there. Like I think it's the whole S, C, D. I don't know which way you go. I think there's like the whole D that was the big double D, as I like to think of it.
Which way do you go?
It's a big cargo ship, wife. Very large. Lots of cargo. Remember that SCU from the last video? Thousands of SCU. All on this like spiraling nonsense. So it's kind of like a lion's penis. It's barbed.
I've never seen a lion's penis, but I've seen a tiger penis.
Oh, that's not barbed, I hear. But So, tiger penises aside. I'm gonna get to the actual topic of the video. I'm kind of putting all these ships next to each other, assuming that you're getting into the bigger ship game, and you're trying to decide which one you want to buy first, or if you're a poorer person.
Oh, it's a mission contest now.
Sure. Poorer person, or you're trying to do it in game with just a few guys, and you're trying to figure out which one you want to get. Which one might be your goal to shoot for. So, really, you're going to laugh at that. Fine. The goal you're shooting for. So, you got these smaller ships and you want a bigger one. Which one are you guys going to pool all your... What were you saying? What? Say it.
It's like a funny state of mind right now.
Mm-hmm. Which one you're going to pool all your funds together to buy. Hopefully in game, though. I guess if you have like 12 people and you all put $25 down, you could get a pretty... What is that? $600? No, it's 4. What am I talking about? Everyone would have to put $50 in for that to work. No, everyone have to put 100? My lord, I can't think. No, $50. Everyone would have to put $50 in for 600. So that would actually be a $300 ship. So everyone would have to put $50 in. In my mind, that's still pretty crazy. So we'll assume in-game currency. Now, this is where I think the Liberator is actually kind of fun. Because it being an express carrier and doesn't have all the fancy guns and stuff that the Idris has, it's cheaper than the Idris and obviously smaller. Meaning you could get to it faster. But you still have a ton of carrying capacity. You have a decent sized cargo, a 400 SCU, which by the way matches the Caterpillar, and that's like all the Caterpillar is supposed to do. Hey, wife, could you grab this boy? My arm's asleep. Ah, yes, the joys of fatherhood. Though they never told me about my arm falling asleep while rocking children. Oh. Okay. So, the Liberator, in my mind, is for those small groups of players of like 12, I'd say somewhere anywhere from 12 to like 30, who, I guess 30 is pretty large, but you get the point. That's kind of where I'm thinking. Who want to do a bit of everything. You like the mining, but you don't want to mine all the time. You like the cargo running, but you don't want to cargo run all the time. You're into the shooty, pew, bangy, slap everyone in the face. But sometimes you just want to sit around and mine.
You're on business.
And, you like exploring. But...
Lord, I don't even know.
Explore her.
Her name was Thor.
Oh, wow. Explore her. I don't even know her. Oh my. English. Why you do this to me? You give Ukrainians too many sexual jokes for just talking. It's not fair. She doesn't even have to earn them. Anyway.
I'm so creative.
Yes.
3 babies later.
And here's how it works. So imagine, for example, that you wanted to get the big boy mining ship. The big boy. And so you went for the Orion, which, I don't know if this is the best comparison. Maybe they'll come up with another mining ship that's more comparable to a sub-cap rather than a full-cap ship. But, I think it's comparable enough. And so you get it. But now, you've put this big investment in. Maybe you even sold some of your smaller ships. And though it's fun, you get a little tired of mining one day. And you wish that you and your mining pals could do a little violence every now and then. More than just your standard little fighters flying around with you. Your standard escort for the big boy ship. Well, obviously, you're locked in now. Or you gotta wait till you can... For bigger operations, right? Obviously, you could go off in a little fighter or something. And I'm imagining you'd make some pretty good money with an Orion. Minus all its costs. But, right? You would have to wait to save up enough money to get yourself one of the bigger combat ships for those bigger operations. Or, you could have gotten a Liberator and then put your Pioneers on there. 2 or 3 of them. And because we've already seen that the inside garages, though they're made for land vehicles, are big enough to take a ship or 2, especially smaller ones, I could see you taking your escorts with you as well. Or, what have you. But then let's say you get bored and you just want to do full combat. Well, you take your pioneers somewhere, you drop them off, you slap your fighters on the bow, and you go get your pew-pews on. Well, let's say you took down something big and really nice. Well, now you could go back, grab a couple of vultures, slap them on, go out there and fill up the 400 SCU full of scrap and other salvaging stuff. Good times. Let's say you get an exploration hankering from exploring of the her, as my wife puts it. Exploring her. Well, this is where I think it shines the most. And the least. And I'll explain. It shines the most because you can put... My goodness. You can put a variety of things on the Liberator. So you can put maybe a Pathfinder with you that goes out ahead of you and does some extra scanning. So you can bring a ship like a Terrapin or a 315P, things that have very good scanners. And, well, 315P also has a... It's on the tip of my tongue, wife. Don't tell me. You don't even know what I'm talking about. A tractor beam. Right. 315P has a tractor beam, so that's useful. But, you see, you can set up a fleet of ships centered around your Liberator and kit it out for everything you need for your exploration. Now, that's why it's one of the best for exploration. But at the same time, it's one of the worst because there's no medical facility. And exploration, boy, you really want some kind of medical facility for deep exploration ops. Because let's imagine that this is a really far one, like you're going 3 or 4 hours into another system, just flying, and you get there and something happens and you die like an idiot. And all your friends are like 4 hours away from your last spawn point. Or 2 or 3 hours away from your last spawn point. That would really suck. That's where the Carrick shines, of course, right? Because it has a med bay. A med.
That's one pretty nurse, if you know.
So, this is something you got to think about. Though I think later on we will get...
You wish you had a med bay.
I do. We will get smaller ships that have the tier 2 med bays on them. I think the Apollo has one. Wife's laughing. Because the tier 1 med bays, they've already changed. The Cutlass Red can no longer be a spawn point. It can only heal minor wounds. And I guess keep people alive on the way to the hospital. It is technically an ambulance, to be fair, so that's more of its intended role. So I'm hoping that the Apollo, which is more of a medium ship, about 40 meters. Thank you, wife.
I had to burp, okay? I'm a little gassy.
Terrifying. Now the whole world knows about my gassy wife. So...
There's gassy and there's gassy.
This, in my mind, isn't a horrible idea because there's this little thing you can do with the Liberator that's beautiful. That you could double your fleet size, and that's
deliberately double your.
Deliberately double your. And that's basically have half your escort fly with you off the ship, and half your escort or half the ship's flying with you on the pads or in the garages. So, when the ships flying with the Liberator start running out of gas, you pull out of hyperspace, and you have the ships on the pads that are fully fueled fly up, and then you have the ones running out of fuel land, and then you go right back into hyperspace, and you refuel them as you fly. That way, you can bring double the ships with you. See? Now, it looks like since... It looks like, I mean, this is the kind of things that's going to be fun, because it looks like carrier transport of ships and other materials, but carrier in particular is what I'm going for, is going to be eventually, just by necessity, be a kind of profession. Because if you can pull this off, and you can do it without crashing your ships as you land and take off and all the rest, you're going to feel pretty fly. You're going to feel pretty cool.
Fly like the bee's knees.
Yeah. And I'd say you, because they put both of the extra small pads right next to each other. I mean, there's 3 pads, but whatever. Right next to each other. if you have a medium ship that's not too wide, it's just a long boy, if you know what I mean. It should be able to land on those pads, and most likely, it should be able to refill. So you know, I don't know what the Apollo's dimensions are, but even if the Apollo doesn't have that, you know, if we're getting into bigger fleets, you can combine them. I think, for example, a Starfarer combined with a Liberator is going to be a nasty match. You say, oh, but you know, you might as well just bring the Starfarer with the whole fleet and everyone can refill off the Starfarer. Shut up, you maggot. But no, there's an advantage because the Liberator can refill 3 fighters at once, if not more. It'll be interesting to see if you can refill them in the little garage bay. Your funny wife. But it was also interesting to see how many of the smaller ships you can put on those pads and if they can all be serviced at once. Don't take that weird.
I'm trying so hard not to.
You are. I'm gonna paint an octopussy right on the side of this ship, and you can think about it the whole time. The main thing is, if you're using these techniques, you got to remember that the fuel's gonna.
Might as well call it the orgy.
Now I have this horrible image of a corgi like biting people in the buff. Anyway, so orgy, corgi, borgy.
Porky.
Oh God! I just realized the air conditioner has this horrible noise in the background of all of this. Oh well, it'll just be horrible audio. I love you guys. So, as I was saying, you can refuel. I assume. Okay, maybe I'm assuming wrong, but it would strike me you can refill your ship mid quantum travel flight. So with just taking a Starfarer with you, each ship would individually have to refill with the Starfarer one at a time. While if you combine a Starfarer with a Liberator, then you can just refill the Liberator and then refill the smaller ships all at once as they fly. And then the bigger ships have to refill with the Starfarer. Okay, the Starfarer is not going to be that much of a whore. It's only going to make connection with bigger ships. The Liberator, on the other hand, it's just got its fingers in all the pies. So, that pimp. Ooh, we'll call it the pimp. The pimpin' corgi. Did you know that ships are actually going to be named in this game, and they're actually going to put the names on the side? So I claim the Pimpin' Corgi for the side of my Liberator, guys. Just so you know, the Pimpin' Corgi, and you know.
Shake its booty.
Yep. So when you land your ships on my Pimpin' Corgi, you better shake their tushy. Oh my God. That needs to be a t-shirt. Horrible. What has happened? The Pimpin' Corgi. Lord have mercy on my soul. I'm going to have to answer for that in heaven. God's going to, maybe not God himself, but like, maybe like Saint Gabriel or something's going to come up into me. And so, I was watching over you when you brought up the Pimpin' Corgi. I have to say, this is not the humor we expect for people in heaven.
We have clean speech policy.
But it was pretty funny. Anyway. Okay, but Big Booty. Now we're getting into the fun idea of making the Liberator the center of a bigger fleet. And this is actually something you want to think about as well. Maybe you're thinking about, and you have the money, or you know a guy who has the money, or your org has the money, or your guys are planning on saving up for something as big as an Idris or a Kraken. I would actually argue you may want to think twice about that, because if you instead make a sub-cap fleet instead of a full cap fleet, which sounds funny, right? Full cap would be things like Idris's. My mind's ready to blank. You get the point. The big boys like Krakens and things. Those are the big fat boys. Instead, I would argue you may want to instead start with a Liberator and get support vessels for the Liberator. Things like Starfarers for refueling mid-flight. Things like a couple support craft like Persei, maybe a Hammerhead
Persona.
for,
Persona.
for more combat ventures. More combat
You've got the
ventures.
persona for the coming adventure.
But if you actually know a bunch of combat works and you want to be and you maybe want to make some money, but don't always want to enter the combat, you may want to think about making it more of a support fleet. So you have, if you think about it with the Liberator, you could ferry their fighters to them wherever they're fighting. I don't know why that made me laugh, ferrying their fighters to the fight. But you could also bring the Starfarer, or Starfarers, depending on how rich you are and how much money you're making off of this, to refill them wherever they're at, drop off the ships, take their damaged ships back with you maybe. Maybe you have something like a Vulcan with you. Yeah. I don't know how big the Vulcan's going to be. I think...
Okay, Spock.
I know. I get it. Or even have some salvage ships with you. Like if you know there's a...
Explorers just trekking there.
If you got friends of a combat org, you may want to bring a Starfarer, a Crucible, and a Liberator.
Or a Starfire.
Yeah, a Liberator full of... and an Apollo, so you...
Corgis.
Yes, the pimping Corgi. Now, you say... Why?
Working corgis.
Oh God, is that gonna be like the pimpin' corgi, and then there's just gonna be a picture of a corgi butts like around? Horrifying.
It's like a GIF of a corgi that's just
on an animated GIF on a futuristic spaceship just bouncing in space.
the pimping corgi.
Oh my!
Dancing in studio.
So, why bring the Liberator in this situation? Because you can bring the escort ships with you, or some salvage ships with you, depending. Or, you know, you're going to get smaller versions of everything. It'd be interesting to see... Don't be funny, wife. If they start expanding the refueling...
It's a big horde.
Terrifying. The refueling, so you have a smaller, like a really small ship that's nothing but refuel tanks. Which would be kind of fun for ships like the Liberator to just sneak them off. And for small time guys who just want to find people out in the verse and refill them full of gas. Or refill all the gas stations out there. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, Deli. Oh.
And that's where Laughing Cast came to be.
But what I mean is, if you get something like the Kraken, though you can pull off a lot of what the Liberator does, you've put all of your resources into one basket. You put all your eggs in one big basket. Now, it's a big basket. It's got some big guns. It's got a lot of refueling, a lot of space for everything. But imagine if the lucky bombers actually made it through and destroyed it.
And there's a baby bomber.
Yes, they're all baby bombers. They're called gladiators. Yes. I mean, could you imagine the nightmare of of your Kraken sending off all its fighters somewhere to an attack or whatever it's doing, and then the sneaky set of Eclipses pops out and just hammers it with a bunch of size 9 torpedoes.
Hammerhead?
Yeah. Just imagine the sadness of seeing all of your resources go up in smoke so fast before you can do anything. If you instead split up the job between smaller cap ships, if that nightmare scenario happened, you may lose a couple sub-cap ships, and that would be horrible. But at least you wouldn't lose everything. In a lot of ways, the Kraken, though a beast in and of itself, like real-life aircraft carriers, it's going to need escorts. Because you don't want to lose the entire ship, baby. And there's this situation of what makes aircraft carriers so effective in real life, though they're less effective now that there's certain things like like supersonic ship-destroying missiles, which is great in existence now. Look them up. But what made them so powerful in the past, especially in World War II, was the ability for this ship to exert damage without risking damage. Basically, what I'm saying is it was able to target and attack things without itself being at risk of being targeted and attacked. This is why,
Are you sure?
yes, in World War II and Midway, they were trying. The whole game was trying to
I
find.
was just laughing at the verdicts.
You're fine. Find the other aircraft carrier, right? But the problem is the aircraft carrier itself is a vulnerable ship, even with its big boy guns. Like if you look at those big boy guns on the Kraken, they're damaging, they're big, but bombers aren't going to be sitting there waiting to get shot. They're going to go for that vulnerable underbelly. They're going to go for its ass. They're going to come in droves, baby. Like if I were to take out a Kraken, give me a give me a couple squadrons of Eclipses, something like 7 of them. That's a lot of torpedoes. And come right up from below it and right at its ass. Wait for all of its fighters to do whatever they're going to do. Wait for the escort to be at its least, or even for them to be refilling stuff, and come right at its ass with all those size 9 torpedoes. Jam them home, watch it crack. Obviously, it's going to have point defense systems, but it's a stealth attack for a reason, gentlemen. And that's 7 torps going at the same time is probably going to get through most defense systems. And if you were willing to bring along 1 E-warfare ship, ooh, scary, right? Something to knock down the shields or the turrets. Yeah. So personally, I like the idea of putting it on multiple ships, because the Kraken can do everything, right? Or it can refill, it can do repair jobs of small ships and blah 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 blah. But if you separated that between 3 or 4 ships, like you get a Crucible, you get a Starfarer, and you get a Liberator, and have a bit more of a smaller fleet, but you have more targets to hit, it's going to be a lot harder to take you out in a sneak attack, or even in just a straight up brawl. You're less likely to lose everything in a lucky size 9 torpedo or just a concentrated attack on 1 ship. You can scatter your resources. Maybe you lose the Starfarer and it's horrible, but at least you didn't lose the Liberator and your Crucible as well, right? You get the point. So I've been yammering and yammering on. I recommend you guys just think about all the combinations you can do with a Liberator and other subcap ships and other things you could do, because it's a good time and it's fun. And I like subcap ships. They're this fun little Corvette size. I don't know, maybe they have a different. The Star Citizen might have. Every single science fiction, everything has a different idea of what a Corvette's supposed to look like. But for me, my personal idea of what a Corvette has always been a smaller ship, kind of frigate style, but smaller, that can do a lot of things. And that's subcap, right? A little Corvette. It just sounds beautiful. Anyway, do the like, do the subscribe, do the share, make my babies happy. And don't forget to ride the Pimpin' Corgi. Catch you guys later.